This conference will now be recorded.
Okay. We don't need to record. Okay.
This conference will now be recorded.
Thank you, Miss Durham. We have a quorum present. We'll have the invocation by Reverend Bruce Kirby. Let me find them. Mr. Kirby is the associate minister at Mount Current Missionary Baptist Church. Mr. Kirby?
Yes, I'm here.
Yes, sir. Floor is yours.
Good, good evening. Can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
Yes.
Okay. Shall we pray? Eternal God and everlasting Father, we give thanks to you for your continuous grace and mercy. We thank you, Father, because you are an omnipotent and omniscient God. For you have declared the end from the beginning. For it is you who knows our down sitting and our uprising, even our thoughts are far off. For God, it is you who is able to do exceedingly abundantly more than we can ask to even imagine. Eternal God, we thank you for things as being as well as they are, but today we ask you, Father, for your continuous guidance and direction for these who have been chosen to regulate the business on your behalf of this city. Knowing that their decisions will affect your people, we pray, God, that you will crown their heads with divine wisdom and fixing their hearts love so that every decision they make will glorify you and edify your children. Then, Lord, we pray for all others who will be attending this meeting, that everything will be done as you have commanded, that we do things decently and in order fashion. Help us all to stay mindful that you are always omnipresent, because of which we may glorify you both in our speech and our behavior. During this pandemic time, we are reminded of your word in Philippians chapter 4, verses 6 and 7, where you commanded us to be anxious for nothing, but in all things supplication and prayer. For you said upon us making our petition to pause and say thank you. And right now we just say thank you. Thank you, God, not because our hearts are not heavy, not because our eyes don't sometimes fill up with water in the wells of our eyes. And thank you not because sometimes while we live in this tent of a body, we don't grow weary. But we thank you because we know you're a God that's still in control. We know you're a God that cannot make mistakes. But God, what we petition you more so is that part that's found in verse 7, where you said you sent a peace that surpasses all understanding. We desire that today, God, and we petition you for that. And then today we ask God that you would, while you're present here today, God, that you again may be glorified and your word may be magnified while we edify one another. We ask, God, that you would encamp your spirit here just for a little while right here in Prairie, Texas. That these that you've chosen to make the decisions on behalf of this great city, Prairie here in Texas, can do it in a godly fashion. Now, Lord, to the one true God be majesty and glory, dominion and power, both now and forever. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen. Thank you, Reverend Kirby.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Reverend Kirby, for the invocation. Thank you again, Reverend Kirby, for the invocation. We're going to move to public comments. Ms. Durham, you have the list. I'll call Mr. We can start with Mr. James Larry.
Okay.
So if you could unmute Mr. Larry, or I could unmute. I'll try to. I don't know if I can, but no, you're gonna have to unmute him. Well, no, I got it. Mr. Larry.
Okay. Yes. Can you hear me?
Hold on real quick. Your 3 minutes. Yes,
Okay,
sir.
I can start.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Good evening to everybody, and I just wanted to say a couple of things here. First of all, about the city's vehicle, I mentioned that the last time we were at a city council meeting, and I see that Councilwoman Williams has put it on the agenda, has gotten it on the agenda, and I wanted to say to you, Mayor Rowland, this speaks volumes to your leadership, that you would have to be forced to be brought forth to bring out the truth of what happened, and then to inform the citizens of what's going on with what's happening in the citizens in the back in the city in the background. It reflects on your leadership and your character as a person, because we try to trust you, but a lot of us really don't trust you because you do things like this, and it's a shame that we have to force your hand to do this. And so on this item, when it's being discussed, I hope that the council is informed enough that they can inform us if you guys have to go in executive session. But if you guys could speak on this so we can hear what's going on, that would be very appreciated. And second, I'd like to speak on Mr. EZ. I was told that he submitted his letter of resignation from as president of Economic 4B, and this is strange also because in multiple city council meetings I've mentioned him and I've tried to get in contact with him, but I failed miserably at that. And so basically, with this letter of resignation, I'm going to submit an open records request. I'd like a copy of that letter, as it is, without any redactions or any kind of alterations, if you don't mind. And then also, I'm also going to submit another open records request because I would like to review all of the bank records and all of the financial documents for Economic 4B, because I think a lot of money has been mishandled and misplaced and actually stolen from the city of Prairie, and I have a lot of questions. And so I'd like to submit an open records request. I'll do that either tomorrow or sometime this week. And then the third thing, also with that, I see tomorrow that you guys have on the 28th, there's an Economic 4B workshop. I think, Mr. Rowland, you've been told 4 times thus far from the city officials and from other citizens that we don't want your thing that you're trying to get $800,000 for. So at the workshop, I hope that everybody comes out and express their views of negativity towards this idea. You guys have spent the taxpayers' dollars to go to your retreat and to come up with ideas to finance everything we need in the city. You were supposed to come back with a plan. There hasn't been a plan in 6 months from you or the city council. So I respectfully request that everybody who listens to this come out on Wednesday at the workshop to say no to you and deny you once more, the 5th time, for the $800,000.
Thank you, Mr.
Thank
Larry.
you very much.
Thank you. Mr. Wayman Perry. Hold on. Let me find you, Mr. Perry. Mr. Perry?
Yes, sir. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can. Hold on
Can
real
you hear
quick.
me?
Let me set the time back. It's your time to start, Mr. Perry.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Mayor and Council, for this time. I'm just getting inundated, I'm just with calls from the community and the citizens as regards to our transparency. I know that the city has claimed that they're being transparent, and I want to be transparent because the last administration, they were having problems with them being transparent, and that didn't happen. But I've got citizens that are concerned, and I really need the help from the council and the mayor to make this happen, because I put in a request about 4 weeks ago through the city hall to get information on the car, and no one has called me back. My concern is that, are we going to continue to, hide things and do things underhanded where the citizens are not privy to the information? And if that's the case, we really need to think about another route in doing what we're doing. One other thing is that the streets over in my area, you can't pull out on the road without crossing a car lane just to see if the road is clear. So if you would get someone over in the Pine Island area to look at that, it would be greatly appreciated. And I'm gonna hold my rest of my comments for the rest of the meeting. Hello? Are y'all
Miss,
there?
how many items are you gonna speak to, Mr.?
From 4 to 14.
All right, so we're gonna go ahead and allow you to speak to all your items. So let me
I,
write down what they are so you can get your 3 minutes.
I'd like to speak to him as we get to him, if that's okay. Hello?
No problem.
Testing 1, 2. Can you hear me?
I hear you, Mr. Perry.
So on each of the items, on each of the items, Miss Durham,
Yes.
we're gonna, if you could make note of the items that Mr. Perry or anyone else requested.
Okay.
Council, what's your pleasure? How would y'all like to hear the items as they flow or as we've been doing it?
If Mr. Perry wanted to do it one by one, then that's his right to do so.
I should have
So
said
that's yeah.
so, Council. I'm just asking. We're gonna have everyone do the same process. Is what I'm just trying to make sure is clear.
If I'm not mistaken, Attorney Griffin, do they have to speak at the beginning, or can they speak on each item?
So the protocol always before to either speak at the beginning or speak on individual items as the items come. So if Mr. Perry wants to speak on individual items, I think that.
Can you hear me?
Yes, Attorney Griffin.
Okay, so they're allowed to speak to each item. They get 3 minutes for public comments and then 3 minutes for any item that they've signed up for. But they can have that 3 minutes now or at the time the item is called. So that's up to the city council and the mayor.
Okay, so he said 3 minutes to each item. Is it 3 minutes? Like if he wants to talk on it now from 4 to 14, is it 3 minutes for each item from 4 to 14, or is it
Yes,
3
sir.
minutes together? Okay.
It's 3 minutes per agenda item.
Okay. Yeah, I'm in agreement that if Mr. Perry wants to do each item, then we should allow him to do so.
Ms. Durham, just go ahead and make sure that we notate each agenda item to make sure that we don't skip over anybody, so we can keep some
Yeah.
consistency.
Okay.
Thank you. We have Mr. James Leary, we have Mr. Perry, Mr. Ron Leverett. I see you, Mr. Leverett.
Yes, I'm here. Can you hear me? Do you hear me? Do you hear me?
Yes.
I can hear you. Go ahead, Mr. Leverett.
Yes. Good afternoon, Mr. Mayor and the council. On behalf of the citizens of the city of Prairie View, I want to speak on behalf of and related to, although we have a strong mayor government, form of government, the city council has a responsibility. I would like to speak of a concern that I have. and I've noticed that it has come up on a couple of occasions. I heard Mr. Perry in one meeting try to ask about the situation with the car for the city of Prairie View. In doing so, I'm a bit disgusted. I must admit, because I have asked some of the city council members about the car, the situation with the car, and I also went as far as I received a letter. I have a letter, and I noticed that it is on the agenda tonight, and I went as far as sharing a copy of the letter that I received. Well, my position is this: I don't really understand, Mr. Mayor, if in fact you were involved, or you were involved with a matter that referred to city business, and you had an accident. I really don't understand why it was the results of what's taking place with the car. I have a copy of the letter that former Chief Lopez issued to the city council, of which the city council says that they never got. So I'm wondering what is the results, what will be a result of the way that the accident took place. I understand that there was some damage done in Harris County according to the investigation. I'm wondering what position. I know that the city's automobile should be, from my experience, should be insured by Texas Municipal League. If TML, they're going to look for a report. If they don't have a police report, somebody's going to have to pay for the car beside TML. Well, if we are paying taxes in the city of Prairie View, I'm sure that takes in the cost that the insurance through TML on a monthly basis that we pay. My point is, I believe that it's illegal, and I hope that Attorney Griffin get involved with this, because I think that once we look into it, and if an investigation is done, and I don't think that we are going to be able to, it would be the city's responsibility if we have insurance. I think it would be illegal for the city to pay for the car and we have insurance. If, as I said, we were on official business, I think that it should be no problem for getting the car taken care of as should.
Mr. Leverett, your 3 minutes have expired.
Pardon me?
Your 3 minutes have expired. Do you have an additional item that you requested to speak about?
Could I speak to item 12?
You want to wait till that agenda item?
Yes, I'll wait until that item comes up.
Thank you, sir. Ms. Durham, can you make record of that?
Okay, he wants which agenda?
Item 12.
12.
Item 12?
Yes.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay.
We have Miss Bennett, Eula Bennett. Let me.
Yes, I'm here. Can you hear me?
Ma'am, your 3 minutes. Yes, ma'am. You ready?
Yes.
Okay.
Good evening, everyone. First of all, I want to say a big thank you to Councilwoman Williams and Councilman Randall for all the work that they did during the town hall meetings that they had to give us information, or to see that we got some information on the bond that's on the election on the ballot. So thank you to them. Also, I want to say I noticed that the potholes on Owens Road have been filled, and thank you for that. But I also know that there's still some potholes on Richards Road. So I don't know if those are within the city or not, but my question is, why haven't they been filled? And also, if there will be any attention given to mowing in the city. I mean, it has rained quite a bit, and the grass is growing, and there are places where grass needs to be mowed before it really gets out of hand. So, will there be something done about that within a reasonable amount of time? And also, this is just out of curiosity. I don't understand the work. How the work on James Muse Parkway is, what the timeline on that is. There have been times when I've driven down James Muse and I haven't seen anybody doing any work. So, what's the status of that? Will we get a report on what's being done and what the timeline is? Why is this taking so long? The other item that I want to speak on is agenda item 14 about the city vehicle, and I would just wait until that item comes up on the agenda.
Ms. Marie Herndon? Ms. Herndon?
Yes, can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Okay. Good evening, Mayor, City Council members, and everyone listening to this meeting. I am Marie Herndon and will briefly share some code enforcement information. Though the pandemic is far from over, Ms. Escamille and I continue to be hard at work helping to make our city a clean, safe, healthy place to live, work, and play. We remind everyone that snakes are crawling and the rodent population is thriving. So please, keep your vacant lots and lawns mowed and your yards free of any trash and debris where critters can find a cool place to rest or even hide. To the residents who tirelessly help by reporting possible code violations, we thank you. Ms. Escamille and I cannot be all over the city all the time, and we do need and appreciate your continued assistance. If you see something, say something. Kindly be reminded that there is a moratorium on mobiles in the city of Prairie View. About 2 weeks ago, a mobile was moved into the Ferguson Heights subdivision. However, thanks to alert, concerned citizens, code enforcement and Prairie View City Police were immediately notified. That mobile is no longer in our city. In addition to driving around and through the various subdivisions checking for violation corrections and any new violations, the following is a summary of the past 2 weeks' code enforcement efforts. 22 new code enforcement cases. Many of those are tall grass and weeds, not obtaining required permits, and non-operative motor vehicles. There were 13 citations and 2 stop work orders. There are some very serious health and safety issues in the Villa Caprice subdivision, resulting from mobiles having been moved in without planning and zoning or city council approval, and without the property owners obtaining the necessary and required permits. Ms. Escamille and I are working to correct those violations. We're also working to address violations at 2 local automotive repair shops. Again, thank you to the Prairie View Police Department personnel, Judge Alexander and her staff, and all the property owners who cooperatively correct code violations and maintain their property per city ordinances. Let's work together to beautify our city and make it the healthiest and safest place to live in Waller County. Thank you for your attention. Stay well and have a great evening.
Thank you. Miss Lisa Stafford. Miss Stafford? Miss Stafford?
Yes, I had my. I'm sorry. Good evening, Mayor Rowland and City Council citizens of Prairie View. I'm Lisa Staff. First of all, I want to start off by encouraging everyone to early vote and vote consciously. Early so that you can avoid missing that opportunity to vote on our bond issue. Secondly, I want to speak on congratulating Williams and Randall and Jonathan Randall for hosting town hall meetings to inform the citizens. That's much appreciated. Next, I want to endorse on behalf of the African American Cultural Heritage Commission. I want to endorse the nomination of our nominee, David Charles. His name is on the agenda for this evening, and we endorse his nomination with 100% endorsement. And want to see him placed on our commission, and hope that will evening. I also wanted to mention a few things. When you try to call the city hall offices, especially today, there was no answers. And I think a city of this size needs at least one person to be on the phone at all times, whether it's remotely or whatever. So there's city business to be handled, and the citizens need to reach someone in the city working remotely. Also, oftentimes it's hard to find where the agenda is placed in the web page. Sometimes it's under forms and documents, sometimes it's under the department. So if there's a uniform place where we have the agenda easily found for the citizens and not make it confusing for those that are trying to the meeting. And lastly, I want to encourage that we start a newsletter again for the city so that we can have the citizens informed. There haven't seen one recently. There may be going, but we know things such as the bulk trash days and the other activities that are happening in the city. There are things moving and happening in the city that need to be informed about. And I will speak to agenda item 13, but I can wait till that agenda item is done. Thank you.
Miss Denise Maddox, you have 3 minutes.
Good evening, Mayor Rowland. Good evening, City Council. May I be heard clearly? May I be heard clearly? Yes?
Yes. Go ahead. Yes.
Great. My name is Denise Maddox, Dr. Maddox. I'm president of the Waller County Democratic Club, and I'm on the County Executive Committee for the Democratic Party. I know I'm speaking to informed voters, so we'll leave off the fluff right now. But I do want to remind the candidates that it's not just about who votes, it's also about who counts the votes. So if Mr. Larry and Councilman Randall could assign people to monitor the balloting on Saturday, I think that would be in their best interest. I have the forms for that. I did send everyone out by text message, by MMS, what the election results are so far for each municipality in Waller County. So you should have that. And what I want to go down to that's also on the ballot is your propositions. I noticed a proposition on there for $4 million for water infrastructure. I just want to remind people that As is on the mayor's report down on the agenda, the American Rescue Plan should be dropping the first half of it in the next 30 days. $1.5 million has been set aside for Prairie View to be released in the next 30 days, with the other half of it to be released, I think, in the next 12 months. But not only is Prairie View getting money, the Waller County is getting money. Waller County, from the American Rescue Plan, is getting $10.7 million. And I just don't see that maybe the vast majority of the people on that commissioner's court didn't even vote for that plan. So I think that maybe we can get our councilmember Kendrick Jones to maybe speak in commissioner's court on our behalf so the cities can get some of that. And perhaps not so much debt need be accrued for the water infrastructure with these two things. Also keep in mind that President Biden is going to set aside $111 billion just for the part of his infrastructure plan to take care of African American communities, water, sewer, and broadband in probably by July. So you may not have to accrue debt at this point in time. And also, if you did not get the census report, which came out today, I will send out a link to everything regarding Prairie View. There are many things that Prairie View needs to address in this new census report. I think that's about most of my time. Remember, we're still in the middle of a pandemic, and everyone should take excellent care. Thank you.
Thank you. We have Mr. Curtis Anderson. Mr. Anderson?
Mayor, I was supposed to talk when you get to item number 3.
Okay, you just want to wait for item number 3. Ms. Durham, can you make a note of that? Thank you, Mr. Anderson.
Thank you.
Ezekiel Anderson. Mr. Ezekiel Anderson?
Yes, I'm with Curtis. Curtis's
Alrighty.
brother.
No problem. Miss Durham, is that everybody? Oh, I think I muted her because she was making it. Miss Durham?
Yes.
Was that everybody?
Yes, that's everyone.
Okay. We'll move to council. We'll move. I'll unmute council members. All right. So agenda item number 1, take action on approval of city council meeting minutes dated April 12th.
Mr. Mayor, I move that we approve the city council meeting minutes.
Second. Second.
That motion has been moved by Councilman Wallace, second by Councilman Randall. Is there any under? All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All those opposed? Motion passed. Agenda item number 2, discuss, take action on approval of city council special meeting minutes dated April 19th.
Mr. Mayor, I move that we approve the meeting minutes.
Second.
Motion has been properly moved by Councilman Wallace, second by Councilman Alexander. Is there any unreadiness? All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion passed. We move to presentations and report. Mr. Anderson. Mr. Anderson?
Yes, here.
Go ahead.
Hey, good evening, Mayor, City Council, and residents. I'm Curtis Anderson Jr., and on behalf of the Anderson family, I will accept the proclamation from the city of Prairie View by our loving brother Ricky, who was raised in this city and grew up here as a sibling, one of the 14 original families. Prairie View. He also received his 16 years of education here. The family certainly appreciate and sincerely appreciate and say thanks to the mayor and city council for all their efforts in preparing, coordinating, and presenting the proclamation for Ricky Anderson. And thank you again. Okay?
Yes, sir. Thank you again to
Yeah,
all the Andersons who have called or are on the call. There's a proclamation in recognition of Ricky Renard Anderson. And I'll read a portion. Whereas in Galveston, Texas, June 19th, 1958, Ricky Anderson was born to parents Curtis Joe Ed and Lovely Lee Hood Anderson. He grew up in Prairie View and was educated at Waller ISD, a graduate of class of 1976. On his mother's birthday, April 4th, 2021, he went home to one who was created him to rest eternally for his earthly labors, and now he dwells in God's care. Again, this is just a proclamation and recognition of Mr. Anderson and the impact that his family's made in the Prairie View area, and we just wanted to celebrate his life. On behalf of the mayor, Brian E. Rowland, and the Prairie View City Council, we'd like to present your family with this proclamation.
Thank you so much, Mayor and council and citizens of the city of Prairie View.
Thank you. City Council reports. Councilman Randall.
Good evening, everyone. I will be brief. Councilwoman, as you heard some citizens mention, Councilwoman Williams and I had the opportunity to host a couple of town hall meetings over the last two months or so to discuss the bond and just relay any information about the bond. We appreciate everyone who attended. We appreciate your questions, your eagerness to learn, your enthusiasm to get involved. Also, on a personal note, I was awarded by the Texas Coalition of Black Democrats as the top 40 under 40 elected official and community leader. I was also on a panel discussing emerging leadership for the Texas Legislative Caucus Summit. So continue to stay safe, continue to take care of your mental health. Remember that voting is going on now, so be sure to perform your civic duty. As always, it is a pleasure to serve.
Councilmember Alexander.
Hello, everyone. Hello to the great citizens of Prairie View. I will also be brief today. I just got a couple of things I just want to inform everyone. First things first, I just want to thank everyone for their willingness during this pandemic. I know it's been a rough time for everybody, and just our life has been unshook. And I just want to remind everybody to please continue to wear a mask, continue to social distance. We're far from over from this pandemic. So let's continue to hunker down and make sure that everything that we're taking care of ourselves physically and mentally. Second thing, I want to remind everybody to continue. Excuse me. I want to remind everybody that early voting is going on right now. So make sure that we go cast our votes. It's our constitutional and our democracy duty. So let's make sure we go cast our vote. And then also, last thing, I had the opportunity last week to speak to the incoming SGA president and incoming SGA vice president at Prairie View A&M University for the incoming school year. So looking forward to working with them as we improve the bridge and connection between our city and the university. As always, it is a pleasure to serve you all as your city councilman for the city.
Councilmember Wendy Williams.
Good afternoon to everyone. Hello. First of all, I want to thank the citizens, as Councilman Randall said, for participating in the town hall meetings. I hope you guys got the information that was needed. If you need any other information, please continue to email us, contact us so we can pass on your questions to those people that can give us the answer. I also would like to thank Mr. Underwood, Mr. Bostic, and Mr. JJ for taking time out on their Saturdays to come and participate in the town hall. They did a very, very good job. Were very informative. I also want to thank Pastor Singleton for always opening his doors to the council to use his church for meetings. We greatly appreciate it. Everyone continue to stay safe. Um, Condolences to all of the bereaved families, the Andersons and anyone else that was in the community. And also, again, continue to stay safe. Love on your families. Thank you.
Councilmember.
Yes, good evening, everyone. Hopefully, everybody is being safe and doing well in these times. A couple of things. One, I've had a number of alumni reach out to me, talking about they want to reinvest in the city of Prairie View in multiple ways, not including economic development, giving back through mentorship. So I've been working with alumni to create some type of streamlined process where they're connected with our Economic 4B, Prairie View Chamber of Commerce, Small Business Development Center, um, and city leadership. And so some of that work will come out in the coming weeks, and hopefully will bear fruit from it. Also, I've been working with the Planning and Zoning Committee. There have been a couple issues that we've had with planning and zoning. And I put that on the agenda so we can have a public discussion about planning and zoning and where we need to get to so that it can be a fruitful and efficient process for the city of Prairie View. Also, I've been looking into better communication methods. One of the things that's continually heard from citizens is that we need to communicate better, and we need to find more methods and more mediums to communicate, so that people are informed of what's going on. So I've been looking into that, and I've got some information that I think can be helpful that I'll put on the next agenda. Also, I've been working with the community engagement board. Thank you for everyone that came to town hall meetings. For the last couple of weeks, we had a planning committee meeting last week, and we definitely look forward to some things that are going to be created. I know some citizens when they came, they had questions, and we always appreciate those concerns and those praises. And I truly look forward to see what we can do together with the community engagement board. Abundance of Hands Ministry has been working with the Prairie Hills subdivision for the last couple of weekends to do a community garden there. And if you haven't been able to drive by there, I definitely encourage you to do so. We made great work with members of that community. So just bridging the gap and creating something that is sustainable, but also is a prevalent fact that, when a community works together, we can make things done. Two more things. I've been working. I had a meeting with the company that does the website, the city website, to talk about the upgrades necessary. 'Cause I know citizens talk about they want an easier interface with the website, and that they want to have more information that is easier to pick on. Some of those things were talked about in citizens' comments today. So I had a meeting with the website company to try to revitalize that, but also be cost efficient in that same manner for citizens. And lastly, I want to give a public recognition to two citizens, Miss Webster and Mr. Leverett. Now, I know they probably didn't know I was going to recognize them, but I want to recognize them because in the last 2 years, me and other people for Protect the Village, we had a event called Neighborly Love is Blind, where we connected students and we connected community members. And Mr. Leverett and Miss Webster were two that were very instrumental in that process, and some other citizens. But I want to recognize Miss Webster and Mr. Leverett because they have sustained a relationship with the students that they connected with, and I think that was a beautiful thing. And I just want to take the time to recognize it. So I just want to thank y'all for the opportunity to serve this beautiful city.
Thank you, Councilman. Um, Citizens, it's always an honor and privilege to continue to serve the community. As you know, early voting ends on Tuesday, and we have election day on May 1st. As you know, we have 4 propositions on the ballot. And so hopefully you have an opportunity to exercise your right to vote. As you know, we have the Prairie Rosewood Sanitary Sewer Project pre-construction meeting happening next week. We've at the last city council meeting, city council approved the construction company that would be doing pipe bursting in the Rosewood subdivision. And so that contract is led. We have the pre-construction meeting starting. The American Rescue Plan is an opportunity that the city of Prairie View has, and it's going to be prudent that we have the necessary plans to be able to execute on those different areas. The American Rescue Plan is made up about 4, well, really 5 areas, but I want to focus on 4 of them. One is local COVID-19 pandemic assistance. Currently, right now, in many larger cities, they were doing rental assistance, utilities assistance. Currently, no city in Prairie View, and no city in Waller County were providing those services. And so there may be an opportunity for us to roll out those services if we get an additional employees to help us currently staff that. Number 2 is essential workers premium pay. Number 3 is the provisions of government service. Number 4 is investment in water, sewer, and broadband. And that would allow us, again, to be able to use some of the funds to go into some of these existing programs. They're not free funds. They're funds from the United States Treasury, and they're funds that come with stipulations from the federal government on what and how you can be used. The RFP for engineering services and for grant procurement will be coming out in the month of May. And number 5 was fund transfers to city-owned nonprofits or some utilities if we had any, and we currently do not. So again, those are the 5 areas for the American Rescue Plan. The city of Prairie View is going to get a $1.5 million. City Hall renovation is currently finalizing. We've done the walkthrough, and so we're working on fixing those things that weren't currently in the Hurricane Harvey grant funds. And so we're now doing an assessment of those things that we'll be working on for the next 30 days to get updated, like the AC unit in the building that wasn't part of Hurricane Harvey grant, but that is something that we're going to have to I will be bringing back to City Council. The DR 4586 is the FEMA Public Assistance. As you know, that is the current grant that happened with the last disaster we had, the storm. We have our city staff that's been working very hard, pulling together everything. You have everyone from Public Works with Mr. Bostic and Mr. King, Ms. Judge Alexander, Mr. Jones, Ms. Johnson, and all the other, and Detective Morris, who's helping us to pull together what we need to be able to submit that to Texas Department of Emergency Management. And so there's a number of trainings coming up. If all city council members who will need to get the NIM certification training to also help the city. I'll be sending that out in an email. 2021 Downtown Revitalization Fund grant. That's the meeting we had the special city council meeting for, where city council adopted a resolution. We've gotten all the information needed for that. We've had all the postings, both for this grant and the Rural Economic Development Grant. Those are 2 areas that we're focusing on. Our downtown central business district, there's requirements to get the maximum of the points. And so just because we say we have money for water or sewer, it has to be used in certain areas that the federal government is going to pay for. It can't be what we want it to be for. Sharing also opportunities with the World Conference of Black Mayors, been on those meetings and adding value to how we partner and leverage economic development and trade with the city of Prairie View. And then working on a program with Dow Chemical. Dow, they have a business impact fund. Been asked to partner with to serve on this committee with the members at Prairie View A&M University, and we're going to be working towards identifying some renewable energy opportunities here in the city of Prairie View. There's many other things that have been going on, too much to list and or name. If anybody has any questions or want to set up a meeting with me, please don't hesitate to let us know. We'll move to department reports. We have agenda item number 4. I think Ms. Durham, we had a comment from Mr. Perry, if I remember correctly.
Yes.
All right, let me let Mr. Perry.
You there?
Hold on. Mr. Perry?
Hello?
Yes, you have.
Can you hear me?
Yes, sir. You have 3 minutes.
Yes, sir. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. My comment to the departmental reports was that citizens has been concerned that these reports are being given out for the last several years, and basically they was wondering if that was a summary of these reports that could be possibly placed on the website so they can have an idea of what exactly is going on with the reports. What are we exactly paying for? We got the engineering report, the public works, police report, and the financial report. I know the city of Waller put a police report out in the newspaper, but the citizens was kind of concerned about these reports and to see if we could incorporate these reports, whether if it's in a written form or on the website, to where they could just be able to go to the website of a summary of these reports, such they can have an idea of what we're actually paying for. So that would conclude item 4 through 7 for my report.
4 through 7.
Thank you, Mr. Perry. All right. Is there anybody else who had any questions on number 4, Ms. Durham?
No.
Okay. Mr. Underwood, Mr. Underwood?
Yes, sir. This is Harold Underwood. Can you hear me?
Can hear you.
Yes, sir. Do you want me to go through the report? We didn't cover this report at the last council meeting, so it's a tad bit dated, but I'd be glad to go through it if you'd like me to. Just to be clear, this is the report for the month of March 2021.
If there isn't anything that you feel like you need to highlight from the report, I'm good. I don't know about the rest of the council, but we've had this report for a while, so.
Yeah, no, sir. I don't think there's anything to highlight. I think Bill 3 comes up later on the agenda as well.
Right, and I do want to take a moment to thank you for coming out on those Saturdays to answer questions at the town hall meetings about the bond. We definitely appreciate you coming.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
We have a monthly report by Mr. Bostic from USW. Let me see. Usually I can see him.
Yes, Mayor, this is Corey Bostic with USW Utility Group. Can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
Likewise, our report was circulated a couple weeks ago to council. The only thing that I want to highlight on the report On page 3, underneath the water accountability, you can see that we had 64.5% accountability for the month, which is extremely low. Once I notified Public Works of the low accountability, they went out in search of any type of leaks that were undiscovered and did find a severe leak on Old Business 290 that was actually going into the storm sewer and hadn't surfaced yet. So I did the calculation on approximately how many gallons of water lost that was, and it equated to about 2.5 million gallons. So that would have brought the accountability back up to about 92%. So that's the only thing that I want to highlight from our report, unless there's any other questions.
Thank you. Council, we'll go to monthly police report. I don't know, Detective Morris was supposed to be on the call. He had a family emergency, and so I don't think he's on the call. So we will move the monthly report to the next meeting, and it should be should be reported on by the current interim chief. Or once approved by council. We'll go to monthly financials, Mr. Johnson. And we didn't get Mr. Johnson earlier, so Ms. Durham, if you can unmute everybody so I can find Mr. Johnson.
Hello, this is J&J Johnson. Hello. Hello, this is J.J. Johnson.
Yes, sir.
Hello.
Yes, Mr. Johnson.
Okay, this is J.J. with J&J Johnson. On my
mute everybody. Hold on real quick, Mr. Johnson. Well, hold on. Mr. Johnson?
Yes, sir.
4 o'clock. Can you mute everybody, Ms. Durham?
Okay.
Hello.
Okay, so have you found, oh, there he is, Mr. Johnson.
Hello. Hello.
Okay.
All right. Mayor, can you hear me?
Oh, what's
Hello.
Yes, sir. Go ahead, Mr. Johnson.
Okay. This is J.J. Johnson, J&J Johnson. Our report is the one that we had for last meeting. It's through February financials. On our analysis, we primarily talk about public works. We mentioned that public works expenditures are greater than its revenue by $174,000 at this time, and that's primarily due to the level of water and sewer revenue that we're collecting. Another problem that we're having in public works is that the collection rate on a monthly basis, as far as what's billed out, is about 75%. So from a cash flow standpoint, we're about 25% under what the revenue shows. So that creates a cash flow problem in public works. Also, for the 5 months, as far as revenue go, it's under budget by $99,851. And so this is creating a problem as far as public works go. We weren't able to transfer any funds from public works back to general fund to help decrease the amount that general fund has been assisting public works up to this point. Part of the problem that we have here is if this can't continue to exist because Public Works is an enterprise fund which has to pay for itself. And through February now, general fund has subsidized Public Works a total of about $106,000. And what that almost amounts to is the total labor in Public Works that general fund currently is subsidizing at this time. So what this is creating is a situation where is that we will have to look at reviewing the water rates in addition to reviewing if there are any possibilities of increasing the collection rate in Public Works. Because if we can increase the collection rate, it'll greatly help our situation.
Excuse me, Mr. Johnson, real quick. Mr. Johnson, what was the number you gave for the deficit?
$106,000.
You said 106?
Yes, sir.
And is that and for clarification, is that overall where we're at this point in our budget cycle?
Yes, it is. That's for the current budget cycle. We're about $106,000 that Public Works owes general fund. Now,
okay.
if you want to know the total number, the historical number is $1,055,975. Now, that's the overall number from day one, so to speak. But just
that's how much we've owed over the years.
Yes, over the years. That's what Public Works owes general fund.
Okay. Okay, so I have a question. So with it being, you said what, 106,000?
Yes, sir, for the current year.
Okay, is it a continual deficit that adds more and more each month, or was there one particular month where the deficit just grew?
It's continued to grow each month.
Okay, and so has that been always the case throughout these last couple of years that the deficit just always grew, or were there some years in which the deficit actually went down?
It hadn't been as bad as it is now. There were previous years where it stayed stable for maybe a month or two, but it's continued to grow over the years. But again, the growth this year is somewhat great. But when I mentioned to you that just a half a year is $106,000, that's almost 10% of the total amount that's owed.
Mr. Johnson, can you explain to council about the resolution that they currently have in play, which does not allow people to be disconnected and or fees, which is we have about $230,000 of current water bills over the last 12 to 12 months that's outstanding due to COVID. So it's about 12 to 14 months, about $230,000. Can you speak to council? How does that connect to what you just shared?
Okay, that does reference the problem that we're speaking of from a collection standpoint. We would hope that we would be able to have a collection rate of somewhere around 90%. But this hasn't taken place. And so as that outstanding delinquency increases, that decreases the amount of revenue that we have to, that we receive on a monthly basis. And so this is something that I've spoken with the mayor about. And I know, Mayor, you're looking at some different types of ways of trying to increase our collection rate there.
Yes, sir. Council has the list of delinquent accounts. They know the amount and they know who's on the list. And so the goal is to, I met with Attorney Griffin. We met with Ms. Hudspeth and Mr. Bostic to come up with, and also me, myself, and Councilman Randall met a month ago, talk about the delinquency. But all councils have a copy of everyone on the list and the amount of money, $230,000 that is currently due.
Mr. Mayor.
Yes, sir.
I just had a question for Mr. Johnson. How much of the increase amount would you in Public Works would you say is due to the Arctic freeze that happened in February?
I didn't quite hear you on that. Can you
Yes.
repeat what you just said?
Yes, sir. I was asking, how much of the increased amount that's in public works would you say is due to the Arctic freeze that happened in February?
Right now, I can't speak to it because it's hard to determine the amounts for the Arctic situation. We will be able to speak to that a little further once we get some more data in, and I will be able to answer that question. But we didn't. From what I can gather, I haven't seen any large increases in people's water rates due to the Arctic freeze.
Gotcha. So in comparison from like this year from last year, you haven't seen no difference.
There is this year, again, from a revenue standpoint, we are a little bit low compared to last year. And again, I'm attributing that to we haven't made any improvements in our collection procedures. At one time, I think, Mayor, if you recall, we did talk to the collection agency that does the property taxes 2 years ago, maybe, and we really didn't get any assistance or improvements from that effort. And that was Lineberg and Goggin. I don't know if they ever gave us a report, but I haven't seen a report as far as the efforts that they might have embarked upon, and that was about 2 years ago.
Mr. Johnson, Councilman Alexander, currently what you'll find in the report, there's a 30, 60, 90, and 120 day time frame. It'll show you how the numbers have went up, but what you'll see is a lot of this amount some has happened since the Arctic blast, but then some of it has just been during this whole COVID. We're supposed to be meeting on the next agenda. We're supposed to have some information for council to kind of figure out, do we want to continue to keep the resolution that we currently have in play? And then how do we move forward? So we'll have a plan of action to address this. So hopefully council will be able to make some decisions.
And, also, since you mentioned COVID, hopefully we might get some relief from the COVID funds to assist in this area.
Thank you, Mr. Johnson and Mr. Mayor.
Okay, the other situation here, I mentioned in general fund, sales taxes are still below budget, about $165,000 for the first 5 months. And this is true with street maintenance and crime control. We haven't seen a major bump in sales tax yet, but we're hoping that we will see an increase as the COVID disseminates and going forward.
Quick question,
Mr.
Johnson. No, I'm sorry. Keep going.
No, here again, I'm hoping that we can use some COVID funds from this standpoint because of the decrease in sales tax revenue, which is attributable to COVID. Mary, you might can help me from that standpoint. From what you've seen, as far as the language on the funds that they're making available, will some of those funds be available as far as the decrease in sales tax?
That is a part of it. That is why we're looking to roll out $100,000 in small business loans and to support local small business in the amount of $50,000. That is absolutely correct.
Okay. That right there concludes my report. Is there any other questions?
I have a quick question,
Yes,
Mr.
sir.
Johnson. So overall, where are we looking at budget-wise in terms of what we budgeted and the actual expenditures up to this point?
Okay. The major problem, again, is in public works. From the revenue standpoint, from the expense standpoint, we're fine. But from the revenue standpoint, we are down as far as that's concerned. And again, in general administration, we're fine, but since general administration is subsidizing right now public works, it puts a strain on general administration's cash flow standpoint. Because we
Right.
were hoping to be able to transfer some funds back, but we wasn't able to transfer any funds back from public works because, again, their cash flow was so low.
Mr.
So
Right.
the
Johnson,
budget, go ahead.
I was going to say,
I,
can you also share what Councilman, speaking to Councilman Wallace's question, can you share about in public works those items that have come up over the last 2 months? And I don't know if that's Mr. Bostic, but more Mr. Johnson financially. Can you talk about those expenditures in public works? And what does it mean if we do not fix, Mr. Bostic just talked about a $2.5 million water leak on old 290. If we do not cut that out and fix that, first that's costly. So we're looking at, I think the quote was 15 to 20,000. Hold on real quick. Let me see if Mr. Bostic is still on here. Mr. Bostic, how much was the quote to do the work off of, speaking to the water that we lost in your report? Do you know a roundabout what was that quote?
Yes, this is Corey. The ground that was running into the storm off of Old Business 290 next to the taqueria stand. It, the amount
Mr. Bostic, you're going in and out.
Yeah, I can't hear.
of water that we lost was roughly around 2.5 million. The cost for the repairs, the estimate that we received, it was $10,000 to make that repair. We're hoping that and line some expenditure. Two budget items for capital improvement,
Hey, Mr. Bostic,
which was the
your reception
Dooley
is
Road lift
Mr.
pump
Bostic.
installation.
Mr. Bostic. Your reception is really bad and it's going in and out to a point where we can't even string together what you're saying.
All right. What I will say, so again, hopefully council will see that some of the things that has happened in public works are some of these emergencies, some of these just things that are expenditures that the lift pump I think he was talking about on Dooley Road, that's now here. That's $54,000. But there's also some good things in the DR 4586, which is the disaster recovery. We should receive about $35,000 in reimbursement due from the freeze on monies that we had to put out to get fixed. So that money would be going back to split between public works, general administration, and police department.
Was this and some of these numbers that are given, did you say that they were in the report that USW gave us?
Yes. If you look at their monthly report, the amount, the work that they do and what the cost is in there, and then it's also in Mr. Johnson's report on what was spent. But there's a 30-day lag between the two reports.
Okay, and the reason why I'm asking is because I don't know if it's different from other council members, but I did not receive the USW report. So it's hard to follow along because I don't see the report.
The USW report went out last 2 weeks ago. So it was in your packet from last.
So you're referring to the April 9th one.
Yes, sir.
There wasn't a new one. Okay.
Sir.
Okay. Well, I'm good to questions.
Mr. Johnson.
That right there basically concludes my report.
Thank you, Mr. Johnson.
Okay.
Council member, we move to ordinances. Discuss, consider, and take action on vehicle policy ordinance 2021 03-18001. Councilmember Williams.
Yes, I'm gonna move that be moved to the next city council meeting to allow council ample time to review it and get back with Ms. Griffith if there are any changes.
Second.
The motion to be moved to the next city council agenda was moved by Councilmember Williams, second by Councilmember Randall. Is there any unreadiness?
My only unreadiness is if other council members are not prepared to have the conversation, then yes, I table it. But I was able to read the ordinance. I know sometimes we talk about, when we table things, it just makes the next agenda longer. So I've read the ordinance and was able to prepare to discuss it. But that's up to other council members.
All those in favor by saying aye.
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 All those opposed? Motion passed. Agenda item number 8, discuss, consider, take action on Prairie View Police Department racial profiling report. Like I said, Detective Morris had a family emergency. I have not received the report yet, but that is something that will be on the next city council meeting and be sent to you all, after we move forward with our interim police chief.
Okay, I
Mayor
think,
Rowland?
okay, go ahead.
Go ahead.
Yes, I would like to move that number 14 be moved up until now.
Second.
Council, that motion for agenda item number 14 to be moved up after or before current agenda item number 9 has been properly moved by Councilmember Williams, second by Councilmember Randall. Is there any unreadiness?
Yes, only unreadiness is I know Perry wanted to speak on 8.
On 8.
I think that's what Ms. Durham was going to say.
Yes.
That would also be my only unreadiness.
Yeah, he'll still have an opportunity to speak on it. It just, well, I mean, if we're not going to have a discussion, I mean, there's nothing to speak on.
I mean, are we able to move this agenda, say, before item 8? That way, when we get to item 8, even if we don't have a discussion, we still reserve the right for Mr. Perry to speak on it.
I guess
If that could be an amendment to the motion. Councilwoman Williams, would you accept my amendment to say that we move 14 before 8? so that when we get to 8, when Mr. Perry has a chance for discussion, he can.
Councilmember Wallace, we're
That's
gonna
fine.
call for the question and then we'll allow him to talk on number 8. We'll
You
call
said
for
what?
we're gonna call for the question.
Why can't she accept my amendment and just
Because
do it before?
the question has been called already, and so we didn't say it's going to be immediately. We'll let Mr. Perry speak.
But if I made the motion for if we're on readiness, I make the amendment. Why can't
Never
Councilwoman Williams
adopted,
accept it?
Councilmember Wallace. It was never adopted. It was never adopted, Councilman Wallace.
Attorney Griffin, I can't make an amendment during readiness.
Councilmember Williams could make an amendment. You can't make an amendment to her motion.
Thank you,
Okay, can
Councilman
I
Griffin.
reference an amendment for her?
It was called for the question prior to that happening.
Okay.
All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
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 All those opposed? That motion has been passed. Again, like I was saying on agenda item number 8, we will have that on the next city council meeting.
On the next.
Yes, it's going to be moved to the next city council meeting. Discuss, consider, take action on car accident by Mayor Rowland occurring in the city vehicle and all surrounding circumstances. Councilmember Williams.
Thank you, Mayor Rowland, for putting this on the agenda. And we would just like
if I might, prior to it being presented, you should have the people who are signed up for number 14 speak prior to Councilmember Williams presenting it.
Gotcha. Ms. Durham, who do we have to speak for 14?
We have Ms. Beulah Bennett and Mr. Wayman Perry.
Thank you. Ms. Bennett? Ms. Bennett?
Yes.
Yes, ma'am. You have 3 minutes.
Okay. Mayor Rowland, your slogan about we are one TV, this is only true if we can depend on you to be honest and transparent in your leadership as the mayor. Up until this point, as a taxpayer, a citizen, I don't know what happened in terms of the accident, and it's hard to trust someone who is in a leadership position and does not come forth with information that I think the citizens should be aware of. What happened to the car, why there was no police report, because if taxpayers' dollars are going to be used to have the car repaired, why don't we know about what happened? Why weren't you forthright with what happened? I just think that it doesn't speak well to that slogan that we continue to hear about we are one, because we are not informed about the issue. And so I think that it would have been so much better had you come forth at the time that it happened to give us the details and the truth about what really happened. And I mean, when you're using the car, are you only using it for city business? And if you're using the car 24/7, that can't be just for city business. So it has to be, that you're using it for your personal use. And I don't understand, is that legal? Can you just use the car at your own discretion for whatever you want to use it for, whenever you want to use it? It just seems to me that if it is a city vehicle, that it should only be used for city business and not as though it's your personal car to be used at your own discretion. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Bennett.
We have Mr. Wayman Perry.
Yes, can you hear me? Hello? Yes.
Yes.
This is Wayman Perry.
Hold on real quick, Mr. Perry. Hold on. I want to give you your full 3 minutes. Go ahead, Mr. Perry.
Yes, this is Wayman Perry. I just want to thank Ms. Bennett for the input that she brought to the table. She almost took every word out of my mouth. But again, if we're going to be PV1 and follow that slogan, we certainly need the input from the city council as well as the mayor for the transparency, because we have been robbed, as you will say, up to this point in various different situations. And that cannot continue on. And it's not good for you to tell us that we PV1 and you're not being transparent and you're not, being faithful to your own words, because now no one trusts you to be able to lead the city, because there's no trust. You're killing your trust. And I just, again, as a citizen, speaking for the citizens that have came to me and was questioning me about it, it's like I say, it's been 4 weeks ago. Even the council, if y'all covering up something for the mayor, it's a problem with that. This has been 4 weeks now. Now we're just now hearing something about the car. Again, be transparent. Thank you. I'm through.
Thank you, Mr. Perry. Councilman Member Williams.
Yes, thanks, Mayor Rowland, for putting this on the agenda. And if you could enlighten the council and the residents as to what happened and where we at right now.
The city vehicle is back at Prairie City Hall. As you may or may not know, I got in an accident in the city vehicle. The vehicle was towed to Waller County Paint Body. It was fixed and it is back at City Hall. I will share with the citizens just like I've shared with council members. We currently have two police vehicles at Waller County Paint Body. We've currently had 2 vehicles in the last 4 months from Public Works that have been in Waller County Paint Body. Council didn't know about those. There weren't total losses. What I've done has been strictly in my ability as the mayor. It has been within what we needed is in repairs and maintenance to be able to move forward the city of Prairie View. So again, if anyone had any questions and individually wanted to speak with me about the accident, there was an accident. There is the report, the information that I received. I don't know, many people talked about reporting the car stolen and all these things that are unfactual. But again, if anybody have a question in reference to the city vehicle and my responsibilities as being the mayor, they're more than welcome to come ask me.
Mr. Mayor.
But why would you leave the vehicle though? Why would the vehicle be classified as abandoned?
I'm not sure why they put abandoned. I know when I went to go to get the tow truck that was tow truck company that was down the street, even though they had tow trucks, their tags were expired, so they could not tow the car. When I talked to Chief Lopez at that time, Chief Lopez says that they called him, asked if the vehicle was reported stolen. I said no, it was not. I said I had just called you. I said that I was. He asked me, did I report the vehicle stolen? I said no. I told him I was in an accident. He said that they're going to tow the car to Waller County Paint and Body. He asked me, did I need anything? I said no. He says he's going to have an officer come make sure the vehicle got back to Waller County Paint and Body. That was the end of the story.
So what time did this accident happen, Mr. Mayor?
Happened in the morning.
Do you have a,
Saturday
do you have a specific time that it happened?
about 6:30 in the morning on Saturday.
Um, what time was it towed back to Water County Paying Body?
Probably about I want to say 11, but the report was done. No, the report was done about 10:30. They didn't tow it back to Waller County Payne Body because the chief sent Officer Morris to get the vehicle. The vehicle I don't think left till after 2 o'clock.
Filed on the vehicle with TML?
Say that again.
Was there an insurance claim filed on the vehicle with TML?
There was some papers submitted. TML on Friday. Our TML representative sent me an additional form, a different form than the form that was used in the past.
You said a form was submitted on Friday?
No, a form was sent to me, a different form. So the form that we normally use.
So the insurance claim. So after the accident, the insurance claim was filed with TML?
Not directly after the accident. The insurance claim was sent after. And then when I followed up on Friday, the guy, our representative, said that there's a different form. So the form that I received from all the other claims that were filed from another employee from the city, it's a different form that they sent me. They sent me a form for vehicles versus let me see what the form I have it right here. So there's a auto claim form versus a claims form.
So if TML didn't cover the repairs, how was the car paid for and repaired and returned to the city?
You said I'm not understanding your question.
So typically, when the process is when a city vehicle is in an accident or damage of some sort, of filed this claim through TML. TML sends a check to Ms. Johnson, and Ms. Johnson uses that money to pay for the repairs. If we didn't file it, or if we haven't filed the claim with TML, how was the city vehicle paid for and returned to the city? Pay for it.
If you have the process for filing a claim, please send it to me.
So my question was, how was it paid for if TML didn't pay for it?
Are you asking me if city funds have not? Are you asking me, is the city of Prairie View spent any money currently on the truck?
No, I'm asking if the vehicle has been returned, how was it paid for? City funds or other funds, how was it paid for if it's now returned back to the city? Mr. Mayor, I'd like to make a motion, please.
Councilman Randall.
I move that we authorize Detective Morse to conduct a full investigation over the car accident and all of the details that were staining, whether it was within the jurisdiction and without, and allowing him full range to utilize any resources that he needs to complete this investigation.
Y'all have already conducted that investigation. You've already sent him to do this already.
There's a motion.
Second, and I second it, but I would like to do an amendment.
Motion. Please repeat the motion, Councilman Randall.
To authorize Detective Morris to conduct a full investigation over the accident and any circumstances thereafter the accident, and giving him full range to utilize any resources and agencies necessary to complete the investigation.
Second.
Motion has been properly moved by Councilman Randall, second by Councilmember Williams. Any unreadiness?
I have unreadiness.
Yes, ma'am.
I have unreadiness.
I just want to say, I don't know if it's available for anyone. And I don't know if all the council received it, but it's a letter of accountability that was given by former chief of police, who was still chief of police at that time, Kenny Lopez, and he describes a different conversation. That's my unreadiness.
So who all got the letter?
I did not receive. I haven't received any material.
I have not received any.
Yeah, the letter only came out after Chief Lopez left the city of Prairie, but we definitely love to see it, council member.
The letter came out. You're exactly right. It came out, but he was the one that was called, and he details the conversation that he had with you, and it's a slightly different conversation compared to what the officers came back and told him, because according to him and what the officers said, this accident happened between 2 a.m. and 2:30 a.m. in the morning. So if you didn't get a copy of it, I will get with Ms. Griffin and see what we can do to make sure that everyone gets a copy of that.
Sure. Any other, Mr. Councilmember Alexander?
Yes. My unreadiness would be a couple of things. Can I get like clarity on like where the accident was? And then also I believe I was having conversations with other members, and also but I never received like any like documents or anything to that nature. I was told I was gonna receive like documents, so I was gonna look at to be able to look at, but I haven't received anything prior to this meeting. So I'm just trying to figure out where we basing all the information that we have off of, if all the council members have not received all the information. But my first question would be, where did the accident happen?
So, Councilman Alexander, just so we're clear, this motion, we can continue discussion on the item after this motion. This motion doesn't end the discussion, so we can still have conversation afterwards. But as far as information, I don't think any of us, I don't have the letter. I don't think any of us have information. That's why we put it on the agenda, so we can have the conversation. But this motion doesn't end the discussion. You can still ask your necessary questions, if that makes sense.
Awesome. Thank you, Councilor Randall.
Call for question.
All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
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 Can I get a voice vote? Councilmember Randall?
Aye.
Councilmember Alexander?
Aye.
Councilmember Williams?
Aye.
Councilmember Wallace?
Aye.
Motion passed.
Councilwoman, you have the letter. I mean, can you read? I think you're the only one who actually received a copy of it. So,
what happened was on March 17th, I was getting ready to take the vaccine shot, and I was called by a resident. And a resident asked me, did I know what happened to the city car? And I was like, no, what are you talking about? And they said, well, the car has been wrecked. And it's at Waller County Paint and Body. And I was like, wow, okay. Once again, the citizens know stuff before we get to know it. I asked for it to be put on the agenda, and of course it wasn't put on the agenda. So after it wasn't put on the agenda, then I contacted those parties involved to get the information that they had. So I got a copy of the incident investigation report, which is by Constable Zekin, and she's out of Precinct 4. She sent me her entire report. I also got a copy of a letter from
How did you
Sergeant
get?
Hernandez.
Because I
I
definitely
also
you got
got a letter.
Councilmember Williams.
Yes.
Because when I looked that there wasn't a report, so how did you get a report from? What is the report? I didn't know there was a report.
The report is called an incident/investigation report, reporting officer narrative, and it was done on Saturday, the 6th at 9:15 a.m. and she details everything in this report as far as where the car was, and she's the one that classified it as an abandoned vehicle traffic hazard tow, and that's what's on her report. And I did a records request, and that is how I got the report. And again, I got what is considered a letter of accountability, which is from Chief of Police Lopez, because they originally contacted David Allen. David Allen put them in contact with Lopez, and Lopez details in the letter his conversation with you and his conversation with the constable out of Precinct 4.
Attorney Griffin, is this a legal matter or?
They haven't asked for any legal advice at this juncture.
Okay.
And so that's how I ended up with the paperwork after unsuccessful attempts to get it put on the agenda. So I went to the individuals that could give me the information. And so that's how I knew Mr. Morris was sent to do the investigation. Also, Mr. Hernandez was sent to do a backup investigation. And he is the one who says that according to pictures that he had, the accident was between 2 and 2:30 a.m. in the morning. I don't know if any of that is true or not. I'm just saying what the documents that I have. And so, Ms. Griffin, can I give this to council or can I not?
Yes, we can distribute that to city council.
You're saying.
Okay, so I will email it to you.
Yeah.
Attorney Griffin?
I want to be clear, council member, because you said you said something about a letter of accountability, and then you
It's
said
a letter
something
that Lopez wrote, and it details the incident in his conversation with you. I did not say any of this that he put in this letter was actually what he said to you or not. All I know is he gave me a copy, sent me a copy of this letter that he labeled it a letter of accountability because he wanted me to know the conversation that he had with you on the day of mention that the vehicle, they were called and they reported the vehicle as abandoned because a passerby saw the vehicle around 8 or 9 something in the morning.
right. So Councilmember Williams, I appreciate you for sharing that. But the way it first came out, as if this came from a report and this came from
well, you know, I have a report from the constable. She has she has a report. She's the one that's classifying that the vehicle was abandoned and it was 100 feet off of the road, posts and fence were towed down and etc.
Yeah,
I didn't
so
get that from Lopez.
I'm saying the letter of accountability came after Chief Lopez left. The same thing with your pictures and everything you're naming. We also need those pictures for the insurance. So if you If you have those pictures, that will
They
help
don't,
us.
they're not, let me clarify this. They're not pictures that show the vehicle. They are pictures that show you at a business next to where you had the accident between the time of 2 a.m. and 2:30 a.m. That's what the pictures are. They're not the pictures of the vehicle. I'm sorry if that's what somebody thought. That's not what they are. But again, Sarah Griffin, do I send all of this to you and you're gonna send it out?
Yeah, so I would need to review it prior to sending it out, but if you'd like to send it to me, if you want to go
It's
ahead and
whatever,
go through these
it's
tonight,
whatever.
we could do an executive session under the legal exception. If you want me to take time and go through them, then we can send them out tomorrow or whatever's appropriate to send out. It just depends on what's in the documents.
It's whatever council wants.
I definitely want the documents because as me and Councilmember Alexander said, we haven't seen it. So if those documents can be sent through Attorney Griffin to us, it'd be appreciated.
Yeah, I share the same sentiments as Councilman Wallace. I have not received any documents. I've just been hearing different versions of the story. So if I have any black and white, that would be very beneficial.
Right. So if I could recommend that we quickly do a 551-071 legal executive session with the city council without the mayor present, so that we can discuss the contents of this document, because I don't want you to vote to make this document public and or available to the current mayor if indeed it's documents that would be adverse to the position of the city, and if indeed Mayor Rowland would be in a contrary position. So I think we really don't want to just say, oh, let's give them out, because we haven't defined who would go, or whether they're public, or whether the mayor gets a copy, or, I have not seen any of these documents either.
Gotcha. Attorney, Mr. Mayor.
Attorney Griffin
Yes, sir.
and City Council. It just seems like this witch hunt is continuing to go on and on and on. We've made the motion. We've carried the motion. The motion that was accepted and passed will go forward. The interesting thing is that the letter of accountability that came from Chief Lopez is something he submitted after he left. This whole process of this special investigation that Detective Morris started on his own without any approval from anyone except for Councilmember Williams, it just talks about this ongoing witch hunt. It's okay. You've made the motion.
I didn't give Officer Morris any kind of information. He told me Lopez instructed him to do the investigation, and as well as do the investigation and involve the Texas Rangers. I didn't give Detective Morris any kind of go ahead to do anything at all.
Where's the report that there's a report that would need to be initiated by Chief Lopez to do the investigation? He doesn't need to provide it to me, but if he didn't initiate in a report, you can't just go do police officers just can't go doing what they want to do because someone told them to do that. So where's the report that was initiated if Chief Lopez instructed Detective Morse to do this? Again, another example of this witch hunt, because no one can provide the documentations of what was needed, the letter of intent that was needed for this to even take place. But again, you've made the motion. The investigation has taken place already. You have the information that Detective Morris, whatever he got.
I don't have any information from Detective Morris.
So, Mr.
I
Mayor.
don't know if anybody else does. I don't have anything from Detective Morris.
So, Mr. Mayor.
Yes, sir. Councilman Randall.
I move that we go into executive session under the legal code. What is that code, Attorney Griffin?
It would be pursuant to Texas Local Government Code, Section 551.071, consultation with the city's attorney to discuss item 14 on the agenda.
That one.
Second. The motion has been properly moved, been made by Councilman Randall, second by Councilman Alexander, to go into executive session. Which executive session, Councilman, Attorney Griffin?
If I can ensure from the city council that they all received an email from me at 3:55 with a teleconference call.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am. I received that email.
I received that email.
It would be that executive session.
Okay, thank you.
We got to carry the motion.
Offer question.
All in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All
Aye.
those opposed? Motion passed unanimously.
This conference will now be recorded.